Magic in the morning and a spectacular fall morning here. More like, Chris Kurdak calling it the second summer of September, and here we are, the middle of October. Mike Barrett in for a weekly installment of what's called quite simply Good Policies with Barrett Insurance. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, you just pointed out that tree across the way at the park, and man, that's a beaut, Clark. To quote somebody.
I've been watching that thing change color out there for a week now.
That's gorgeous.
I was trying to paint the picture to you. It started up the top of the tree on the outside of the branches, and it slowly worked its way down, but still on the outside. And then as it was getting further down, it started working in, and now it's that deep, dark blood red. It's gorgeous.
You know, and along that theme, if I was to ever be a tree, I'd be an oak tree because I'm always late.
Well, they're just starting
to go.
Yeah, behind it. Good policies. I mean, we're finding out more and more often here, Mike, how important insurance is. Not that it's not important. We've talked recently about, keeping your flood insurance active and if you need it or not, and family safety headed into the heating season. But something we haven't talked about in quite a while here is automotive insurance. What do you say?
Yeah, that's a good one. That's probably the one that's seeing the biggest impact in terms of increases of rate with that hard market conversation we've been having. We've been talking about the cost of autos. Used car values have stayed very high. I think they're starting to simmer a little bit, but the cost to repair a car is certainly much higher than it used to be. Think about it. There once was a time where if you got into a small fender bender, you'd say to somebody, "Don't worry about it. I'll hammer it out when I get home." Those days are over. That small hammer out yourself situation now turns into a $2,500 claim. Windshields that were $400 are now $1,900. There's so many things going on. And all this leads into the fact that auto insurance is expensive. It really is, especially if you're more than a liability-only person. Liability certainly is expensive in its own right, but you start having physical damage coverage such as comprehensive and collision. And if you've looked at your policies over the years, you've certainly seen a probably 20, 30, 40% increase over the years. It's not a cheap proposition.
Well, you mentioned comprehensive, and there have been a lot of flooding claims thanks to comprehensive insurance out there, not just here in our region, but obviously down in the
southern states, yeah.
And
New Mexico right now getting nailed. Yeah, absolutely.
All of these cars that have been damaged by flooding, and I'm going to say all, I know it's a blanket statement, but every single one of them is a total loss.
Yeah.
Every one.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And those cars are going to have most likely be rebuilt, get salvage titles. And something to think about, Jeff, with vehicles with salvage titles is not many companies really want to insure them because in the eyes of insurance, we already paid that. Been there, done that, not doing that again type of thing. And it's not everybody, so that's good. But there are some companies that do not want to insure a salvage title vehicle for physical damage and then those that do, you as the owner or the purchaser of the vehicle with a salvage title needs to be aware, not beware, that the value of that car is different because it's a salvage title. So a loss is going to be handled accordingly. So something to think about. But, in this day and age of what do I do? The insurance is so darn expensive. Look at your policy. Make sure it's got what you want. Make sure you don't have more than you need. What if you have AAA and you have roadside assistance on your auto policy? Well, you have twice as much coverage than you need. If you're loyal to AAA, get rid of the roadside or towing and labor reimbursement on your auto. There's ways for you to cut that down. Maybe explore deductible options. If you don't have a loan on the vehicle, go with a higher deductible. Check to see what your lost payee says is the highest deductible they're comfortable with and that you would be comfortable with, and maybe increase from a $0 or a $100 or a $250 deductible to a $500 or to $1,000. That will really help offset some of your costs. Now, altogether, I'd say any one individual thing is not going to be seismic, but if you do a number of things to really help mitigate your expense, you may see some results and feel better about it.
A fella I know just had a double whammy. Yesterday.
What's that?
His car's electrical system failed. Had to get towed. He's riding in the tow truck with a car on the back. The guy in the tow truck, they hit a deer.
Oh, man.
Just had to share that with you.
So things happen in threes. So if I was that friend of yours, I'd stay home today.
That's what everybody told him on Facebook.
Yeah.
So let's go back into this here. You mentioned deductibles, $500, $1,000. There was a time when $1,000 deductible was considered absolutely incredible. But
Yeah.
when you start talking, as you did earlier on in the conversation, about what it costs to repair a vehicle, $1,000 is nothing, not even a drop in a pond.
Yeah, and it's interesting when we're quoting people, we still see a lot of people with $50 or $100 comprehensive deductibles and maybe $250 collision deductibles, and it's really a good idea to look and see. You don't have to go higher, but it's free to look. It's free to say, hey, quote me higher. And honestly, Jeff, we are starting to see companies taking a stance against lower deductibles. They're trying to make it so that people are not filing what we call nuisance claims, which are the small payouts that on their own aren't really a big thing. But if you have a small payout, then you have a larger payout. You can see some level of frequency that can then become a problem. We're seeing auto insurance companies starting to make decisions with if people do towing and labor too much. Like, we're probably going to have to make that coverage go away for you at your next renewal. So it's not a fun time.
You mentioned a $50 deductible, okay? So if over here I park my car at the store and I go inside and somebody scuffs it with a shopping cart, that $50 isn't even going to cover the cost of buffing it out.
Right. No, I know. But the $50, are you really going to make a claim on a small $100, $1,000? No, the claims are always going to be larger. And, if you have the means and the ability to scrape enough money to have the deductible or meet that deductible, even if it's this cost savings year to year where you're pocketing and saving some of that money that you're not paying into insurance to have that lower deductibles, not a bad idea. If you have youthful operators, look at all the opportunities to make sure you're getting credits for them. And if they're good students, make sure they're getting the good student discount. Make sure they're getting the driver credit or the driver training for having driver's ed if they've taken it. In Vermont, I think you have to. Pretty sure you have to. So I'm going to say yes to that, and you're nodding. So, and then, look at all the other coverage options. Companies offer zero glass, which comes at a comprehensive. If it's normally subject to the comprehensive deductible, which you have a $50 deductible, and you go, you know what? I want to do $1,000 comprehensive deductible. Look to see if you can add a $0 glass. That's nice to have. Glass covering windshield side windows, back windows, any glass in your vehicle subject to a $0 deductible, regardless of what you choose for a comp deductible. So many things that you can do to help offset your cost. And one thing I don't see people do enough of, if you have a young child or not a young child, a student, a high school graduate who's gone off to college over 100 miles away from home, and they're still on the auto policy and they do not have a car with them at school, make sure you check to see if there's a 100-plus mile discount available in your policy. That can be pretty good, too.
All good advice, and that's why we get together Tuesday morning. So the conversation can be had by
giving us a call, 748-5224. You can find our office on Portland Street in St. Johnsbury, online, thebarrettagency.com, Google, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Just look for Barrett Insurance Agency.
And tune in at 8:35 on Tuesday mornings.
Yes, sir, Bobby.
Let's go look at that tree.
I know, huh?
Yeah, music from Katy Perry on the way. But next is Kelsey Ballerini on Magic in the Morning.